Today, Toronto Raptors GM Masai Ujiri held a press conference to formally welcome Kawhi Leonard to the Six. It included an articulation of his vision for the team, an apology to DeMar DeRozan, which we'll talk about a little later, and itinerary for Kawhi's physical. The only thing that was missing was Kawhi himself. Like, I get it. He's quiet, he's reserved, and we always tell players, keep dirty laundry in-house. What happened to Kawhi this year must have been especially difficult, to remain silent and not retaliate publicly, as the notoriously secretive Spurs organization seemingly had bi-weekly updates about how Kawhi's absence was letting his teammates down and holding the team back. It's hard, and I applaud him for taking the high road in that regard. But that chapter's behind him now, and he's now starting a new chapter in a new city with a new team. I'm not saying Kawhi has to become Charles Barkley overnight, gregarious and engaging with media at every turn, but he's got to say something to establish his presence in a new setting, especially when the first thing we hear moments after the trade is reported is that Kawhi has, quote, no desire to play in Toronto. It's actually something Masai addressed today in his press conference. Take a listen.
I've had conversations with Kawhi, with his agent, with his uncle, and everything has gone well. I look forward to meeting with them face to face, and that's our responsibility, you know, is to figure it out. And he didn't express a lack of interest to not play in Canada to me.
Here's the deal. Regardless of whether Kawhi has every intention to be a Laker in July of 2019, he still has 12 months to go. So you might as well make the most of it right now. And that starts with, I don't know, saying something?
Right.
Dave, I'm going to throw it to you first. Does he owe us or owe the public anything, a public statement coming from him, not from his uncle, not from his agent, not secondhand from Masai, but him about his desire to play in Toronto?
He absolutely does. I don't think it has to happen right now, but whenever it does happen, he needs to provide answers. And we want to know what's going on with your health. Why did you only play 9 games last year? What was it like between you and the Spurs organization? What do you really feel about the Toronto Raptors? Are you going to give a towel to Masai Ujiri to wipe off his forehead? Someone needs to answer that question. But, you know, again, I don't need it right now, but there's so many ways he could go about it. I mean, there's great journalists around the country. He could do a one-on-one interview. He could do his own Players Tribune or that type of outlet thing. But let's hear something from the guy.
You know, look, he could hold a press conference and he's probably not going to say anything anyways. Kawhi might be one of the most boring interviews in the NBA. So he's probably not going to say anything. We're still going to have a lot of those questions, even if he has a press conference. But I do think because he has not spoken, because there's been so much, secrecy involved around him, and then people that handle him, his family, it's made this situation complex, not just for fans, but for teams involved, like teams trying to figure out, should we trade for this guy? What could we offer for this guy? We don't know his health. We don't know if he wants to play here. We don't know what the guy's thinking. So I just think from that standpoint, he does need to come out and talk. He probably won't say anything when he comes out and talk, but at least we will see him in front of camera, because this guy has been like the biggest mystery in the NBA now for like the last 5 months.
Or, like, I'm a business partner of his. If I'm the Jordan brand, I want the guy out in front. Like, what am I paying him for?
I think that's one of my big things is there was talk last year about him wanting a better deal with his shoe deal for what he is on the court. And we all kind of said the same thing. The guys that get the big bucks, it's not just because they play well, it's because they do the China trips and they do the sponsor parties and they schmooze and they do all the stuff that none of us really want to do, but we have to do because that's part of the job. And so for me, that's part of it. If he wants more money endorsement-wise, he better start talking. But more importantly, you're coming to a new team. They had nothing to do with what happened in San Antonio. Like, I don't even need an explanation what happened.
Okay.
Let the past be the past. But you come here, you got to say, happy to be here. We'll see where it goes. You don't have to say, I'll be here forever, but just show up and talk.
But this is a different situation than just going to a new team. He's going to a new country. And that's what comes with the Toronto Raptors, is that you have a country now that is like a little bit upset about losing a guy who actually wanted to be there, who is the face of the organization, might be the greatest Raptor of all time. And he felt that he was kind of like lied to. And now you're bringing Kawhi Leonard. And it was like the press conference, first of all, like most of the questions were about DeMar in the beginning, not really about Kawhi. It's almost like Toronto does not know what, I'm not talking about the organization, but the city does not know what is coming, how good of a player he is, because I think they've forgotten about that.
Well, we'll see what happens.